All right, folks. Thanks for joining us again on a V2VG video podcast, Family Through Service. Backwards is okay still.
Yeah.
We forgot the last couple times to put money in the Nancy can, so
did.
I don't have coins, so I'm putting paper money in.
More paper money.
And then we'll, it all goes to the same place anyway, so we'll take this down for now.
And we are planning on doing a fun video coming up probably in the next week or so.
We are. As soon as the items come in.
Yeah, so that's going to be cool.
Yep.
We're going to have some Nancy can rule adjustments specifically for that.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
a
going to
peanut
be
gallery.
Yes.
I don't think you'll see that. You might see the peanut gallery a little. You'll hear them.
Yeah, definitely hear them. That'll
Yeah.
be the goal, you know. So,
but that'll be different. So one of the things we want to do is fact or crap. Psst.
Okay.
So fact or crap. The Australian airline Qantas offered a $2,765 a seat flight to nowhere, which sold out in just 10 minutes. Fact or crap? What do you think?
I'm going to say crap.
I'm going to say crap, too. Why would you spend that much money on a flight if you don't know where you're going?
Yeah.
Okay, it was a fact.
Well,
The 7-hour scenic flight that started in Sydney, Australia and ended in Sydney, Australia was not the most environmentally friendly approach to sightseeing. Yeah, everybody's worried about, fucking lowering your carbon footprint or
and
whatever.
global warming.
They're going to fly
this,
around in a circle over the continent of Australia. But anyway, there's that.
Yeah,
So when we had the audio only podcast, we did what I call brain splinter episode. Where so what's your understanding of a brain splinter?
So this is cool because this is kind of something you coined, and I definitely has rubbed off on me, and I think it is like a great definition analogy. Yeah. And so a brain splinter to me is something that where something is or how something's supposed to go.
Yep.
And it doesn't for one reason or another, and how that can affect you as a combat veteran. And I imagine in the first responder community,
Yeah, I think so.
Whether it be minutes, hours, or even days in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And for example, I was doing some fence work with a friend of mine who's passed away, and we were doing our measurements, and I know I put the Sharpie somewhere. I went to look for it. It wasn't there. It actually drove me bonkers for the entire... I could not focus on getting back on task.
Yeah.
Because I could not find that Sharpie, and it was just driving me absolutely nuts. So.
But see, the thing is, a standard person, an average person, whoever, somebody outside of you, somebody outside of the situation would say, "What's the big freaking deal? It's just a marker. It's just a little piece of plastic." But for you, it was way more than that. And that's where the brain splinter comes. Because what's a splinter, right? It's a little thing that gets under your skin and bothers the shit out of you until it's remedied. So what was it about the little marker that bothered you so much?
It was about the fact that I know where I put it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there, in the fact that it just wasn't anywhere. I could not find it, and
right. It wasn't only that it wasn't where you put it; you couldn't find it. Period.
Yeah, and it's funny because my friend's wife, she was like, "Oh, here, I'll get you another one." It's not the fact of just getting another one, It's just one of those things.
That you put down? Right.
Definitely. So
that's the splinter part of it, and I think the reason why the brain splinter is a big deal for a lot of veterans, and a lot of veterans don't know what to call it, but it's like a change in the plan, a change in the routine, a brain splinter, whatever you want to call it, is because we become creatures of habit from the military, right? Everything is dress, and everything's in its place, or should be. And when it's not, and especially when we feel it's not our fault or otherwise, it throws a wrench in the works, and it's really irritating. And when we feel that it's somehow our fault or our responsibility that something's not where it's supposed to be, that's what gets really, really irritating. Because it's like, no, I know I put the marker there. Where is it? What happened to it? And why is it not there? right?
Yeah,
so it's more than just the marker; it's the situation,
and it really is
attention to detail, right? It's a violation of attention to detail. I put this here; it's not here. What the hell? And then it goes. You can extrapolate that out to bigger things or smaller things, like when we're going shopping. We're going to go to 3 places. Okay. Well, now we're going to go to 4 or 5. Now I'm getting pissed off. It's not because we're going to 4 or 5, and it doesn't matter if it's on the way. What matters is we had a plan, and now we're deviating from that plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I put my energy into those places, and I set myself up. I set my dominoes up.
Yep.
And I'm ready for them to fall, and now we're deviating from the plan. And is it petty? Well, yeah, it is petty.
To most.
But as veterans and likely as first responders, we're creatures of habit to a great degree, and we're creatures of of formation.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't matter what the plan is, if you want to go to these places, set it up. And I always tell my wife, if you want to go somewhere extra, it might be helpful to say, we're going to go to Walmart, Shaw's, and Staples. And if we need to on the way home, maybe we can stop at Rite Aid, because then at least you're giving me a little bubble room to work with, so that way if I'm irritated, it'll be less so.
Yeah, and
not like, oh, well, it's on the way.
And we did a video recently also about a wrinkle in the plan, and so I guess the difference would be a wrinkle in the plan is something more of there's more time to adjust to what's going on.
It's more minor, sort of. But I like what you said. There's more time to adjust to it. It's not, oh, by the way, we're stopping at TJ Maxx for an hour.
Yeah.
Whoa, that throws me way off. We only have so much time and energy to commit to these things.
No, exactly. And, but this one we wanted to kind of focus on two personal pet peeves, but also business-wise.
And speaking of time and energy into something, right?
Yes.
As a segue into what Chuck is saying, when Chuck and I come, it doesn't always look like this is the case, but Chuck and I have disabilities, and a lot of it are mental, psycho, emotional abilities. So we only have so much energy that we can put towards what we do. And so that's why we work in a certain time frame, and we get as much as we can done until our mental energy is sort of exhausted, and we go to recharge, and it's a big, long thing. So our time is precious because we only have a certain window to operate.
Yeah.
Right? And that segues into what Chuck is saying. And this is it's sort of bigger than a pet peeve. It's becoming bigger than a pet peeve.
Yes. So I guess the two major things we kind of went through between yesterday and today are communication and punctuality.
Yes.
And communication, even though...
And they kind of work together.
They do. And so when it comes to communication, if someone does communicate, you're forgiving, but I tend to be a little bit more forgiving because that timeliness is really important to you.
Yeah.
But when it comes
more
to...
of a... you're right. You're more forgiving. Yeah. I'm a little bit more hard-nosed on it, but you have more of wiggle room.
Yeah, but you don't it's not like a personal attack on people. It's just that okay, once you cross this line, I got other things to do, if you're not going to communicate, then, and it does go along with punctuality, because if you say you're going to be somewhere, if you're going to call us or you're going to do something, and we always get to what we're trying to do at least 15 minutes, as the military is known for.
Yeah, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late. That's a very common saying.
Yeah, right. So, and if not more, it's closer to a half hour, because we want to prepare ourselves and whatnot. Yeah. So, I mean, anything 5 minutes past the initial time, anything after that really becomes a brain splinter for us. And if you're getting,
with
15...
no communication.
Yeah, with no communication. Yes. Exactly. And if you get 15, 20 minutes, we're both pretty much on the same page of, shut down shop and...
Shut it down.
And so... But this affects us in many ways. I mean, and anybody who's watched our videos knows that you're a devout Catholic, and...
Sure.
So yesterday's situation was very effective on you, because you did your Sunday school teaching that you typically do. You wrote in this time frame in your schedule, despite knowing you were going to be tired dealing with a bunch of little kids and teaching some difficult concepts at times.
Well, because they're kids.
Yeah, and so when you have someone who says, "Oh well, I'll call you at 12," and you're already knowing you're reaching that limit of your capabilities, so they communicate one thing and then don't show up, and then don't communicate back to us, even if we've reached out to them multiple times.
Right.
It's more than.
Well, I'm understanding if something happens. I'll call you at 12, 1, 11, whatever. If something happens, there's a family emergency, we're fighting, there's my house is on fire, I don't care. If something happens and you communicate that, okay, fine, we can reset and Chuck and I can figure out something to do, or I can head home, or there's a million things we can do. But if we're standing by and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting and waiting, and we are not doing anything except twiddling our thumbs, to me, that's a waste of time and a waste of my mental energy and Chuck's mental energy.
Definitely.
So there's a lack of punctuality coupled with a lack of communication, and now there's a problem. And because now that brain splinter is like, bing, right into my head.
And especially
and Chuck's head.
The days that are supposed to be our days off or our time off. And
in this instance, because we don't typically come to the office on the weekend. We still work because we text each other and stuff, but as far as coming in the office, typically we don't. So it was a little more frustrating.
And we both have situations we're dealing with at home. My wife is still recovering. Your son is dealing with a traumatic event he witnessed. You also had your oldest and his wife and the grandbaby up this weekend.
They came to visit, yeah.
So even though that was pleasant, that was pleasant that they came, it's still, that's a wrinkle in your plan, and not a brain splinter that they came up. But the fact that you took time away from, either doing lunch with them to being here to do something. So,
and it didn't get done.
Yeah,
so it is frustrating.
Complete waste of time. Fortunately, I had a couple things I was able to do work-wise.
And luckily, we have things to do. But again, the violation of the plan is more that we're waiting and not focusing on what we have to do. And that's where the irritant comes in. It's like, okay, and so like we come and say, hey, did so-and-so get a hold of you? No. And now it goes from frustration and irritation to concern. Well, did something happen?
Yeah.
Because at first it's frustration, like, what the hell? They're wasting our time. And then it goes into, are they okay? Now there's two areas of concern.
Well, yeah, and eventually, like yesterday's situation, it actually it goes from frustration to concern to an anger thing. Like, now when I'm texting you 4 or 5 times and I'm still not receiving, a simple sorry, this happened or something, now it becomes like we almost treat it as a personal attack, and chances are it may not be, but it feels that way because we've dedicated time to be at such and such place at such and such time. We've dedicated time to wait past that time and try and communicate to you. So it all adds up.
It does add up, and I think some of the reason is that when you make an appointment with somebody, you got to try to be punctual as much as possible because you want them to know that you value their time, and they value your time. It goes both ways. And I get frustrated with the doctors. And I understand doctors are a totally separate situation. They can have emergencies and everything else. But even with my condition, if I wait more than a half hour past my appointment time, I'm already telling my wife, like, I'm ready to leave. Because if they have such an emergency that they can't have it covered by then I'm going to leave. And there's more things. My kids are getting antsy.
Because you have two little ones that you can't leave at home.
I'm already pissed off. So I'm not going to be as focused
tolerant
as I should be. So they come in like, hey, how are things? And I'm like, not so great.
Do you want to die?
Yeah, how you feeling? Not great. Not so great. And so it's like, it's a respect thing, and I understand. Look, I get it. Doctors are very busy, I understand, but my time is valuable, not because time is money, but because for me, time is energy.
Well, and the only reason it's not time is money for us is because our time is the money, right? Like, we don't get paid to do what we do. We do this out of who we are and trying to make a difference. So,
well, time is certainly important to our clients because we only have so much time we can dedicate to our clients. So if they're expecting us to move fast and we're like, and we can't because someone's not communicating with us, that means Chuck and I have to work longer into our, I guess you'd call it downtime.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a cascade effect, like a snowball effect. It gets worse and worse and worse. And we have other things to do. It does get... it actually becomes both a brain splinter and a wrinkle in the plan.
And indeed.
Really.
And, see, we have, over the 4 years we've been around, have developed our application process to be very simple.
It's very streamlined.
It's two pages of the most basic information. And so when we have appointments with people, especially initial appointment intakes, we try and do as much of that filling in those spaces as possible when we get the appropriate paperwork. Yeah. Sometimes we have to do a background check depending on the amount. We try and do all these things in preparation, and then if someone doesn't show up either via phone or in person to our appointment, that absolutely affects us, because we just, not only did we waste time, but we wasted our time and energy filling out the paperwork prior that would make things easier for them.
Yeah. So like, again, it's a cascade effect. And I think the takeaway from all this is, don't waste people's time, because there's a lot involved in someone's time. It's not just, I'll reschedule later. It's more than that, because it's disrespectful, it's frustrating, it's angering, it's a lot of things. And one of our mottos is, you can see it on the cup, right? The cups, you might be able to see, it depends if I crop it out or not. It's we don't fuck around. And part of that means we don't fuck around with time.
Yeah.
Okay? We move, veterans to veterans group works very rapidly to get things done. And we cannot move rapidly if our time is wasted.
Yes, absolutely.
We just can't. Yeah. And it makes us look bad to our clients. We tell them, we'll try to get an answer for you, either yes or no, or in between, within 24 to 48 hours, whatever, 72. And then when we're trying to do something adjacent to our mission, and we're just...
and
it's tough. It's really tough.
I like that, don't waste people. But the opposite end of that is, everybody is aware that things happen. You have to communicate, no matter how small or and it doesn't have to be a detailed situation.
Oh, we don't have to. Yeah, we don't. I agree. We don't have to vet the reason. Like, is it okay if my tire got? You don't have to give us a reason, but you at least have to give us an apology. Come on.
Or just communicate. Hey, listen, having car issues, or
I can't make it because
some
of
issues with the family, or just keeping it broad.
We don't need
just communicating, communicating that, hey, I know we had this stuff set up. And so I had you in mind. I know I'm already not where I'm supposed to be, but here's kind of why. Then, a couple of things can happen because of that. One, at least we can not be worried about the individual. But two, we can move on with our day, whatever it may be.
Without a brain splinter.
Yeah.
Without a brain splinter of frustration, anger, or concern, or all three.
Yeah, exactly. And it is very true. And, and this
like a porcupine of brain splinters. You're all fucked up in your head.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't get this out of my brain. Because we were stuck with this for a long time. And so much so that we wanted to do a video podcast on it, because it's very frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, these things happened recently, within yesterday and today, but I would say it's probably a relatively common occurrence. At least, once a week we have somebody.
Mountain time.
Yes, mountain.
Our event starts at 3, so people up here in the North Country figure, hey, it's 1500, it's 3 o'clock, so I guess we'll leave now. And Chuck and I are like, where is everybody? It's 3, and we've been at the location since quarter till or more. So it gets frustrating, and I'm sure a lot of you who are punctual people know how frustrating it is when other people are. And we're not saying you need to be early as much as we are, but if you're not going to be on time, give us a call, or give whomever a call, and say, hey, I'm going to make it, I'll be a little bit late, or hey, I can't make it, maybe we can rain check it, or give us a call and say, F you, just communicate.
Yeah, and a lot of times this does happen with our wives and sometimes our board members and friends. Like, this is not specifically just a business venture.
True.
This is really something that we have dealt with. I guess we've learned to become a little more, better adjusted with our family and friends,
degree.
you know. But yeah,
When I first moved here, I was livid. I'm like, what the hell? I could not stand mountain. Now I understand mountain time. I don't always like it, but I get it. So I can joke about it. But when I first moved here, like 15 years ago, I was like, this is beyond ridiculous. Because I just got out of the Army. So to me, it was like...
So now we schedule everything a half hour earlier than we're actually planning on doing things.
It kind of works.
So, well, until next time.
Thanks, folks. It is frustrating, that's for sure.